Israel says it has received the remains of 2 more bodies from the Red Cross, which will undergo identification. This is after it was confirmed that one of the bodies returned by Hamas on Tuesday did not belong to any of the hostages who were held in Gaza. All of this is phase 2 negotiations between Israel and Hamas as they get underway in Egypt. Israeli officials insist their mission won't be complete until all the hostages, living or dead, are brought home. But Hamas says it can't find and retrieve the remaining bodies without specialist equipment. Meanwhile, bodies of Palestinians detained in Israel have also been returned, but with signs of torture, underscoring the distrust on both sides of the divide. From Jerusalem, Arise News international correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya has this update.
With a newborn ceasefire and negotiations still in infancy, the hope is that peace will one day come of age. But there are challenges. The Israeli military says one of the 4 bodies returned by Hamas on Tuesday does not belong to any of the hostages who were held in Gaza. Forensic tests confirm the same, prompting questions over Hamas's handling of the exchange. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's spokeswoman reiterated the mission is not complete, stressing that Israel will continue its efforts until every hostage, living or dead, is brought home. Meanwhile, phase 2 negotiations between Israel and Hamas have begun in Sharm el-Sheikh, talks mediated by Egypt and Qatar. Their goal, as ever, is to extend this ceasefire and clarify the fate of those still missing. Many of them are Palestinians. Israel has returned several bodies to Gaza, remains that officials say show signs of torture, raising new human rights concerns amid the ongoing talks. Now, those talks in Sharm el-Sheikh mark a crucial next step, but the recent revelations over the wrong remains only deepens uncertainty over who is still unaccounted for and how this ceasefire can hold under growing mistrust on both sides. Adefemi Akinsanya, Arise News, Jerusalem.
So with more international stories on the world brief and a review of today's newspaper around the world, Adefemi sends this roundup to us.
In China, there's been a dramatic crackdown on underground Christianity, as dozens of pastors from the Zion Church, one of the country's largest underground Christian house churches, have been detained in a sweeping move seen as part of the government's effort to control religion online and offline. Over in Mali, the country has announced that US citizens applying for business or tourist visas will now have to provide a refundable bond of up to $10,000, mirroring a similar bond requirement recently imposed by the US on Malian nationals. Now, Mali claims the US policy, which starts on October 23rd, violates a bilateral agreement from 2005 that guaranteed certain visa terms and sees its own move as a response grounded in the principle of reciprocity. The bond must be posted up front, but is refundable if visa conditions such as timely departure are met. Critics warn it may raise travel costs and reduce mobility for legitimate travellers, while supporters argue it is a justified measure in the face of what they view as unfair restrictions. Now, newspapers from Nigeria to Israel and beyond report a range of stories. This day, Nigeria's newspaper of record, the New Telegraph and the Daily Independent weigh in on a multiple of topics. This day leads with Bayelsa State Governor Duri Idiri dumping the PDP along with 21 lawmakers in the state. The Daily Independent has former Vice President Atiku Abubakar saying he has been vindicated after accusing the Tinubu administration of awarding the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway project without competitive bidding. He alleges that the cost is being inflated, pointing out that the pilot phase, some 47.47 kilometers, was earmarked for 1.06 trillion naira, which would imply a 22.5 billion naira per kilometer cost. and extrapolating to about 15.7 trillion naira for the full 700 kilometers. He also objects to the lack of clarity over the total cost, procurement and legislative oversight. Now, the Minister of Works, David Umahi, says the cost is actually some 2.8 trillion naira for the project. And on the topic of actual inflation, the New Telegraph reports Nigeria's inflation rate has dropped to 18%. That is the lowest since 2022. On the front of the UK's Daily Express, we have Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch hitting out at Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer for the collapse of the China spy trial, calling it simply unbelievable. Now, the Jerusalem Post reports that phase 2 of the deal won't proceed until all hostages are returned. This is as Hamas returns 2 more bodies, but says it will need specialist equipment to recover any more remains.
Thank you very much, Adefemi. We look forward to seeing you back physically here in the studio, but thank you for the great work you've been doing in Israel.